на самом деле. Был очень несчастным результатом. И тогда явился его гуру.
And then his guru came.
Он сразу увидел, что он делает.
Vyasadeva fell into deep sorrow, and then his guru came. He saw at once what was the matter. He said, "The problem is that your preaching was only non-direct. All what you've said is very good. But if you won't go till the very end, it won't give no use. If you will not give that relation of everything you've said with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all what you've said will be useless. So you should describe the Kṛṣṇa Leelas now." That's what we are reading now. What Kṛṣṇa is doing. It is described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's beyond the Vedanta Sutra, beyond the Brahma, the realization of Brahman. Have a look. Somebody is stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. That's why Vyasadeva wasn't courageous enough to describe those things. According to Vedic civilization, unmarried girls from 10 to 14 years of age are supposed to worship either Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga in order to get a nice husband. That's what we should do. You should do. But the unmarried girls of Vrindavana were already attracted by the beauty of Kṛṣṇa. They were, however, engaged in the worship of Goddess Durga in the beginning of the Hemanta season, just prior to the winter season. The first month of Hemanta is Agrahayana, October-November, and at that time all the unmarried gopis of Vrindavana began to worship Goddess Durga with a vow. They first ate havishyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together moong dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. All the unmarried gopis in Vrindavana used to daily worship Goddess Katyayani early in the morning after taking a bath in the river Yamuna. Katyayani is another name of Goddess Durga. The goddess is worshipped by preparing a doll made of sand from the bank of the Yamuna. So you should take the sand on the bank of Yamuna and make the image from that sand. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that the deity may be made from different kinds of material elements. It can be painted, made of metal, made of jewels, made of wood, earth or stone, or can be conceived within the heart of the worshipper. In Vrindavana, sometimes we watch the bridge buses. What are they doing there? They have their special ovens there, their own ovens. They cook there, they do chapatis there, they make chapatis there. And sometimes the big monkeys come there. Bridge-basi feed them. They chase away the small monkeys, but they feed the big ones from their hands. And on the Govardhana Puja day, they make the deity on the ground. They make the deity of the cow's booze. It happens every year at the same time. Then they decorate everything with different colors. So this is a simple thing for bridge-basi, to make a deity of the booze or of the tree. if somebody's very spiritual on a high level, he can create his deity in his mind. He doesn't need any material. But simple people who are not that on that level, all those people are recommended to have deities at home.
Кроме того, поклоняющийся божеству может создать его образ в своем сердце.
So, this is said.
Персоналисты, майвади, считают все эти формы божества воображаемыми.
The Mayavadi philosopher takes all these forms of the deity to be imaginary, but actually they are accepted in the Vedic literatures to be identical with either the Supreme Lord or a respective demigod. Of course, we should not make something up. We should know all the details. We should know the main features. You can, so deity can be created in a simple way or in a very specific way, in a very well-prepared way. When you can create the image by simple ways, but your meditation is important. When illustrations were created for Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's instruction was just make it very professionally for Western people. But in India we can see at Radhakunda, for example, we can see its own style, such noses, such eyes, big eyes. Somewhere else there can be very different styles, very simple style of describing. There is just a tradition that they follow for hundreds of years. And what is important are those features that are important for Krishna. For example, the first one is his color. He's of dark, he's of dark flower, but his toddy is bright yellow. His turban on the head, yellow, orange. Sometimes they give him a red shirt to wear, and he's very decorated with so many jewelry. His eyes are like lotus petals. The color of his body is changed due to his mood. He has earrings in the form of sharks. Experienced yogis can create everything, all that image in their mind. When you start to meditate on his form, when you think about it, this is your service. You start to perform your service, and as soon as you perform your service, he becomes alive. This image becomes present in there, really. You can talk to him, you can communicate with him, you can hear him. Everything is possible. Well, this meditation is based on the force of on the power of desire. Only if you desire it so much, he will come and he will be present there. This desire is the main thing, to see Krishna, to serve Krishna. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he left this world in Himalayas, on the river of Kali Gandhar. Shilas are the very unusual deities because they are self-manifested. There was that story of Vrinda Devi. This story is described in the and that was tragic love. So Vrinda Devi cursed Krishna, and he cursed her. She became a tree, and he became a stone. That's how they get manifested from the spiritual world here. Krishna in the form of the stone. So Goswami went there to that river Kalikanhaki to take Krishna, to get Krishna. He went there by himself. So he made his trip all the way there and came back. He took some shilas and he brought them into Vrindavana. And then he thought, what did I do? How could I have done that? I thought that Krishna is just a simple stone, so I took him and brought him. But how will I serve him? I have no qualities. So he came back and put those stones back. The story is that all those shilagrammas came back to him. You see? Because the relationship has already started. And even at that point, he wasn't satisfied. He prayed and he cried, yeah, I want to see his form, his wonderful form, his feet, his shape, his body. I want to feed him, to make him go to sleep. So he had such a big desire that he just merely cried at nights. So once in the morning he came to get his Shilagramma Shila, and what did he see? He saw real form. So it had such a shape that as if this Shila has opened up, and he saw the shape on one side. Such leelas happen from time to time. So really deity can be present in the shape of stone or tree, or in the shape of our mind. So people knew those gopis, they knew those ways to create deities, so they made their deity out of sand and they started to pray. So, okay, so what husband did Gopi want? We need to find that information. How is that possible, that all the gopis were dreaming about the only person? That's not possible. Somebody will be unlucky. The unmarried gopis used to prepare the deity of goddess Durga and worship it with chandana pulp, garlands, incense, lamps, and all kinds of presentations, fruit, grain, and twigs of plants. These are the standards. How should we worship the deity? After worshipping, it is the custom to pray for some benediction. Yeah, service at first, and then goes your request. The unmarried girls used to pray with a great devotion to goddess Katyayani, addressing her as follows: O supreme external energy of the personality of Godhead, O supreme mystic power, O supreme controller of this material world, O goddess, please be kind to us and arrange for our marriage with the son of Nanda Maharaja Kṛṣṇa. There were so many gopis there, So the task wasn't simple for Krishna to become to become the husband for all of them. But they prayed to a Durga goddess, and they believed that she can manage, she can arrange for that. Vaishnavas generally do not know any demigods. Srila Narottama Das Thakura has strictly forbidden all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet the gopis, who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna, were seen to worship Durga. The worshippers of demigods sometimes mention that the gopis worship goddess Durga, but we must understand the purpose of the gopis. Generally, people worship goddess Durga for some material benediction. Here the gopis prayed to the goddess to become wives of Lord Krishna. The purport is that if Krishna is the center of activity, a devotee can adopt any means to achieve the goal. This is an interesting fact. Doing something for Krishna, putting Krishna in the center of activity, a devotee can adopt any means to achieve that goal. If we don't understand this sentence, we won't be able to preach and to spread Krishna consciousness. We have to use different ways. Stereotypes won't go. You should understand that people transform any knowledge into dogma. As soon as he sees those instructions and precepts, he will just follow them and watch strictly everybody to follow them. It happens all the time.
Если мы создадим вот этот стереотип и догму, все будет кончено.
If we create stereotypes, dogmas, everything will be finished. Krishna consciousness is beyond any frames. Although we have our standards that are very strict, but the Krishna consciousness itself is beyond any frames, any stereotypes. That's why Prabhupada says you shouldn't sleep at night because of thinking, how shall I spread the Krishna consciousness? What is the best way? Fight and think of Krishna. But when you fight, you need to do so many different things. So you cannot fight Maya with standard rules and regulations. You need to give up to Krishna. The gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellent characteristic of the gopis. They worship goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. So they have been performing that sadhana for a month. There is such a notion as intensive Krishna consciousness. We can say that, for example, to cook some dishes quicker, you need to turn on the fire, to make the fire bigger, to make the heating bigger. So, usually in our practice, people increase the intensity of Krishna consciousness by the end of life. For example, we live a simple life, but we chant our rounds. It's a normal spiritual life. But when we go on a pilgrimage, we have intensive spiritual life because we are in Dhamma, and our mind is penetrated into the process. Due to that intensive process, we can reach the perfect state in 7 days, just as Maharaja Parikshit, who left in 7 days, who went to God in 7 days. We need to know what does it mean, intensive devotional service. We should meditate on Udipan. The thing that increases our love to Krishna the most. So gopis had their Udipan, Krishna. They wanted to have Krishna as their husband. From the point of the Vedic culture of the time, that wouldn't have been possible. They were already grown-ups. They were like 14-year-olds. That's why they had already their fiancés. Why then they asked for another husband? That was impossible from the materialistic point of view, for them to get married to Krishna. So every day they prayed to Krishna, and their practice was very intensive. How should Krishna behave in such a situation? He cannot break the laws of material world. Early in the morning, the gopis used to go to the bank of the Yamuna to take a bath. They would assemble together and, holding one another's hands, loudly sing of the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take a bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. In India, you will see that men and women take baths in different places.
Ваше желание стать моими женами будет исполнено. Ведь ради этого мы и поклонялись вы, богини-катияне. Обещаю, что следующей осенью вы сможете встретиться со мной и насладиться супружеской любовью. То есть следующая осень, год должен пройти. Обещание Кришны. Позже Шри Кришна в компании своих друзей, вриндаванских пастушков, укрылся в тени деревьев и радостно сказал друзьям: дорогие истока Кришна, Барутапа, Бадрасена, Судама, Субала, Арджуна, Вишала и Шабха, взгляните на этих счастливейших существ, деревья Вриндавана. Они живут только ради других. Эти деревья терпеливо сносят все капризы природы, ураганы, ливни, палящую жару и леденящий холод, но при этом всегда готовы снять нашу усталость и дать нам приют в своей тени. Друзья мои, я считаю, что, родившись деревьями, эти души покрыли себя славой. Они всегда стараются дать приют другим, и потому похожи на благородных,
My dear friends, I think they are glorified in this birth as trees. They are so careful to give shelter to others, that they are like noble, highly elevated, charitable men who never deny charity to one who approaches them. You should never refuse those who come to you and ask for some help. You should do what you can. It's our principle.
Эти деревья готовы укрыть под своей сенью любого. Они приносят людям многочисленные дары.
They are the perfect example of noble life.
Тень, корни, кору, ароматические масла, смолу, а также топливо. Деревья лучший пример благородства.
They supply various kinds of facilities to human society, such as leaves, flowers, fruits, shade, roots, bark, flavor extracts, and fuel. They are the perfect example of noble life. They are like a noble person who has sacrificed everything possible, his body, mind, activities, intelligence, and works, for the welfare of all living entities. So, thus Krishna say what he sees in those trees. Because their austerity cannot be copied. So, under the heat, under the rain, trees never protest. They are always there. And they serve. Even if it is half cut down, it still continues to give you the shade. So this is an example of the mode of goodness. Only in the mode of goodness, with the eyes of goodness, we can see that. In the mode of passion, you would see it's just a tree. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead walked on the bank of the Yamuna, touching the leaves of the trees and their fruit, flowers, and twigs, and praising their glorious welfare activities. Different people may accept certain welfare activities to be beneficial for human society, according to their own views, but the welfare activity that can be rendered to people in general for eternal benefit is the spreading of Krishna consciousness movement. Everyone should be prepared to propagate this movement. As instructed by Lord Chaitanya, one should be humbler than the grass on the ground and more tolerant than a tree. The toleration of the tree is explained by Lord Krishna himself, and those who are engaged in the preaching of Krishna consciousness should learn lessons from the teaching of Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Chaitanya through their direct disciplic succession. While passing through the forest of Vrindavana on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna sat down at a very beautiful spot and allowed the cows to drink at the cold and transparent water of the Yamuna. Being fatigued, the cowherd boys, Krishna and Balarama, also drank. After seeing the young gopis bathe in the Yamuna, Krishna passed the rest of the morning with the boys. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 22nd chapter of Kṛṣṇa stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. It is interesting how just right after this Leela he started to speak about trees. He saw that purity in gopis, he saw their elevated feelings. The gopis, they had been performing their austerities for the month, praying to get Kṛṣṇa as their husband. So they've neglected everything, all the precepts of Vedic culture just to take Kṛṣṇa as his husband. Kṛṣṇa didn't tell what he had done to his friends, because that would have been not very polite, not very good. So he just gives that analogy. He speaks about trees who are humbler than the grass. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 22nd chapter of Kṛṣṇa, stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. We'll stop here. Chapter 23 is called The Liberation of the Brahmana's Wives. Okay, what questions do we have today? In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a quote. Since it's the first canto, we can say about false pride and true pride. Because true pride is revealed in full in this last canto, in the 10th canto. When we speak about real pride and false pride, in our lives, false pride means that person is proud of being somebody who he is not, in fact. He pretends to be somebody, but everybody sees that it's not true. That is called false pride. The real pride is manifested in this world by performing the duties. It's the first step on the way to perfection. You should perform your duty. Let's say I am a learned Brahmana. I can be proud that I am very truthful. I give knowledge as they are in Shastras. This will be my Brahmanic pride. Without that pride, Brahmana wouldn't exist. This pride is needed to exist. So this pride helps us not to compromise with absolute truth. Yes, the Brahmana says, I truly show the Vedic knowledge, truly give. That's what the Brahmana is based on, and he can be proud of that. Kshatriya can be proud that he is a fearless warrior. He thinks of him as of such a warrior. He doesn't think of winning or losing, he just thinks that he should be fearless. That's his pride. Vashya is proud of getting a lot of money and of giving big and rich donations So everyone has its true pride, as we may say, due to his or her materialistic nature. But since we talk about materialistic things, that means that these things can be obstacles on the way of spiritual development. So, in spiritual, from the spiritual side, this materialistic pride can also be an obstacle. Don't think about those tricks of mind, and you will be defended. If you will treat those tricks of minds as real things, you can get tangled. Don't think of those things just as of real things. Otherwise, you can think that you're already liberated soul, that Krishna comes to you himself. It's too early to think like that. But the fact that you think of Krishna, or dream of him, or imagine him, means that you try to be in Krishna consciousness. It's good, but just don't pay too much attention to that. I should even say a little more. Image is like a picture. What's the difference? You see it in your mind, or you see a picture? If you take a picture and look at it, it doesn't mean that you have already reached perfection, spiritual perfection. The same is when you see Krishna's image in your mind. No difference. How should I serve a husband who is in the mode of ignorance? Don't fall with your husband. It wouldn't be right. Prabhupada said the wife is not obliged to serve the husband who is fallen, who is in ignorance. Stay in Krishna consciousness. We can help anybody out of ignorance if he wants. If he doesn't want, you won't be able to do anything. No by prayers, no by reading scriptures, nothing will help. Then it is impossible. It's a very weak person. If he has some difficulties, it's not very difficult, then you should read books together, cook a good prasadam at home, and he'll feel better. But if he decidedly doesn't want to be in Krishna consciousness, you will not help him. What's the okay, why did Gopi pray to Katyayani? That was a tradition, Prabhupada says. Everybody knew that tradition, that all the unmarried girls should pray to Katyayani, goddess, to worship. Otherwise, how will they get married? So that was an ordinary tradition. So Gopi followed this ordinary tradition, but in an ordinary way. They wanted to have Krishna as their husband. They addressed Durga in a completely different way. They addressed to Durga not as to somebody who fulfills the materialistic desire, but they addressed to her as to spiritual master, as to Krishna's servant. If you worship Krishna to realize your materialistic desires,
вы совершенно получите другой результат. Совершенно другой результат.
As a demon, your materialistic desires will come true. If you worship Lord Shiva as a devotee, you'll have completely different result. He can bless you for devotional service. Durga it's the same with Durga. Actually, it's Krishna's energy. It's the reflection of Krishna's spouse. Durga is the wife of Shiva, but actually it's the reflection of Krishna's relationship with his wife. So here we have another point of view, angle of view. Worshipping demigods means that person becomes impersonalist. When he worships demigods, he becomes impersonalist because his material desires will get stronger. While worshipping demigods, our materialistic desires raise, they grow. If we pray to Indra, Chandra, Surya, please, oh please help me, give me happiness. And then we see, yeah, I got that. Oh, the demigod is so merciful. And then I continue to ask, now I want this and that and that, and then I want to get to some heavenly planet. That's how it happens. But a person can address Krishna with the same desire. I'm just praying to you, God. I'm so tired. I have nothing. Please give me something. Krishna gives you the washing machine, let's say, if you asked for that. So what's the difference? You may think that demigod can make this wish come true, and Krishna as well. The difference is that when Krishna realizes our wish, he takes away the materialistic desire. So we get those washing machine and we think, oh my God, why did I ask for that? This is an example of Dhruva Maharaja. When he has got his planet, he thought, oh my God, what did I ask you for? Should modern girls perform some austerities to get married? You should perform a lot of austerities, much more than austerities. You should fasten not for a month, but for a whole life. Yes, at those times, people, those are the examples of great examples. Of great souls. But your austerity is 4 principles and 16 rounds, and then you'll see. And then we'll see. Perhaps you'll get your husband in this life. If you raise so high, then perhaps you won't get a couple in this life. You'll get married to Krishna, because husband should be higher than wife, or at least as high as she is. I can say only one thing: 4 principles and 16 rounds. That works. But don't wait, don't ask, will I have my husband today or tomorrow? I'm getting old. How long should I wait for? Oh my God, please help, please help. Please calm down. If Krishna won't help, nobody can help. If Krishna defends you, who can do you some harm? His will is ultimate, because actually he protects the living being. So this is for the best if your husband hasn't come. So you should think that sometimes you won't be happy with the husband that will come. Why do you need an enemy? You had your normal life, served Krishna, was happy, and now you think of your husband and you're not very happy. When you didn't think of him, you were happy. So, can you imagine even thoughts of him, even that desire to get him makes you unhappy? But when your husband comes, and a husband means a great false ego, and he looks at a woman as its slave, as it's somebody who will realize all of his desires, make all his wishes come true. But to get a real husband, you need time. You deserve that. That's the situation we live in nowadays. Should we see the bad qualities in people? Why do you say should? We already see them, just like that. We have eyes. Don't we see those qualities just like that? For example, it's the same if I ask you, should you see those mud on the road when you go? Should you or shouldn't you? How cannot, but the question is actually, how cannot you see that mud if you have your eyes? Yes, you see those imperfections, but you should also see their soul. At least from time to time, then it will be balanced. In fact, no sin can contaminate soul. If you realize that, you'll get calm. You'll get that that eyesight of a real devotee. He sees that soul is present in there. You spoke today about the new ways of preaching Krishna consciousness. Do you think that devotees sometimes should not stick very well, not stick to that Vedic or outfits and should wear Western clothes? I think the devotees, they just don't know how to dress beautifully in that Vedic clothes. Usually this clothes is very beautiful and it attracts people. But of course, if you look in a strange way, if you're strangely dressed, without jewelry, and if they wear them as hippies do. Well, I'm kidding right now, but actually devotees cannot dress well. It looks as if they are wearing some tablecloth. When we read about Lord Chaitanya, about his dances, and there is the description that every day he dressed in a new way, every day, when he was a grihastha. But our grihasthas, they wear so poorly. They get dressed so poorly. For example, we see a couple, a woman is so well dressed, so many jewels, she's very beautiful, and man is walking barefoot and is bald. Of course they look hilarious. We should learn from Hindus to dress in a good way. So it's not the question of clothes, Vedic clothes or European outfits. It's the question of knowing how to dress well.
для преданных. Когда мы считали, что дорогие одежды это Майя, в общем.
At the beginning of movement, we thought that good clothes is
это было,
Maya.
конечно, жалкое зрелище.
And when we went outdoors, we looked pitiful. That's what people felt towards us. They felt sorry for us.
Ноги просвечивают у мужчин. Без носок ходят, в каких-то длинных
The-
тапочках.
We didn't wear socks. We were wearing some
Не улыбаются, когда
strange
глаза отворачивают.
footwear. We were not smiling, turning away if somebody looked at us.
Поговорить, но с мужчинами сложно.
Women were
Кришны.
better than men.
Если ты, в принципе, не соблюдаешь общество,
Women
то
looked
нет.
prettier, but men were
Да, это
completely
случилось. Я сейчас
intolerable.
что-то собираю из памяти, какие вот эти примеры.
Nowadays,
Не все были такие.
I can't recall
Были
some
более
things like
гибкие,
that.
конечно же, но их не считали
Not
сильно
everybody
преданными.
was like this at those
Если
times.
у вас какая-то прическа,
Somebody
там,
knew
ну,
how
ну,
to
конечно,
dress,
преданные, но
but at those times,
это не то.
if you
Герой, конечно.
had a nice haircut and
В этом
you were
тоже что-то
nicely
есть, надо было
dressed,
быть
you
героем,
weren't
чтобы
considered
чувствовать
to
себя
be a real strong devotee.
Да, и все хотели быть героями, конечно.
Everybody wanted to be heroes.
Но здесь мы говорим о другом, чтобы сознание Кришны было
But
привлекательно.
now we speak about
Чтобы об этом
the Krishna consciousness. We should make it attractive.
Тилака можете поставить привлекательно.
You can
красиво.
even wear your tilaka
Dhoti
in a very
привлекательно,
attractive
красиво.
way. You
Есть
can
разные
wear your
способы
dhoti in an
одевания
attractive way. There are different ways of
Потом материал выберите
putting on
красивый.
your dhoti.
Шов должен быть. Если вы dhoti носите на
You should
публику,
have
на улице.
dhoti of really
Никогда
good
не
material,
простых
silk
тряпок
one.
удачных. Одевайте шелковые одежды.
Wear
чтобы люди
silk
видели, что вы
garments when
красивый
you
для
go
людей. Вам это не надо. Мне это
and
тоже
you
не
dress for
могу.
people.
Я
Yes, you
вообще
don't
не
need it
такой.
yourself. Me too. Me neither. I don't
Реальные
need
повязки.
such
Это не
things.
проблема. Но если вы будете на люди,
We could wear
что они будут?
very
Будут
simply. We could dress very simply.
Знаете, ко
But
мне
when
подходили
we
люди после программы. На Урале однажды была большая программа.
go to preach, we should be nicely dressed.
Подошел человек, ну, он видно, что он такого интеллигентного склада, социальное положение, ну, такой
Once
добродетельный,
at the
видимо, богатый,
program,
как-то
at one of the
успешный человек.
programs,
И он такой
really
чувствительный, немножко сентиментального
rich
склада, он
man came
почувствовал
up to me. It was seen that he's wealthy,
чуть-чуть философии,
well
и
dressed,
почувствовал киртан и лекцию, и
and
подошел ко мне и говорит,
he's kind of sentimental
я, говорит,
person.
понимаю, что тут все очень хорошо, философия
And
нравится,
he
красота
came
нравится,
up to
вот,
me
то,
and
что вы
he said,
говорите.
I see
Это одно
that
беспокоит, понимаете, вот, не
everything
знаю,
is
стесняюсь
good
признаться, но
at
меня
this
сильно
place.
беспокоит это. Знаете, почему преданные некрасивые?
And
Даже
he
его глаза
he
посмотрели,
confessed to me that
Боже,
he
ну,
likes
все
everything. He
похоже, это
likes
как вот это
prasadam, he
супер
likes the
русские
philosophy.
ребята.
But one
Жуткие свитера, какие-то штаны, вообще
one
беспомощная
thing
какая-то. Ну, женщины
confuses
просто
me.
более-менее, но мужчины.
confuses me why devotees
Я глазами, когда посмотрел,
are
тоже у них,
very
да,
are
они
so
некрасивые.
ugly. When I looked with his eyes, I understood really devotees look ugly from his point of view, especially men. They wear strange clothes, old clothes.
Для проповедника это Прабхупада говорит, прежде чем
Prabhupada
вы
said
будете говорить, вы
that
должны быть убеждены, что
for
вы
a
хорошо
preacher it
одеты.
is very important that before I say something, I have to be sure that I'm nicely dressed.
Должны быть чистые, безупречные, красивые
You
одежды.
should learn how to be dressed.
Что это, да, это другая культура. Это культура,
Impeccably
подразумевает, что вы
dressed.
можете
You
быть
should be
голым,
neat,
что-то еще, но
clean,
это должно
and
быть
very
красиво.
beautifully dressed. It should be very nice clothes.
Бывает, что если голова у меня, скажем, квадратная. Уродился таким. Некрасивая голова.
Perhaps I can be not very beautiful by birth.
Что люди будут смотреть на мою голову-то, а лекцию слушать не смогут. Почему у меня квадратная голова? Ну, нормально.
Perhaps you should need to make some haircut, not be completely bald. Because otherwise people will look at my ugly bald head and think about it, but they wouldn't be able to listen to me. We should understand those things. Well, think of those people who think that they are bodies. Just be merciful to them. This is my position. This is my point of view. I think we need to take that into consideration. If you're really renunciated, really,
Потому что это другой умонастроение, другой дух. Они даже не заметят этого.
People won't be afraid of your bald head.
Для саньяси это приписано.
It's prescribed for
Саньяси
sannyasi,
может даже в
for
одежде, а может
example.
даже без одежды ходить.
Sannyasi can even
Никого это не обеспокоит.
walk without
Мужчина,
clothes.
женщина, не различает таких понятий. Люди подумали, какой-то
because he's
странный,
really
совершенно прошел, который
renunciated.
не видит этого. Как шукадер выставил.
So people won't think that this is strange because
Но если вы не на таком уровне,
the spiritual level of that person is so high. But if you are not on that level, you should respect material way of life.
Женщина одна купила мне книги и стала преданной. Вот она вспоминает, та женщина, которая стала преданной.
So, one woman bought books from some devotee in an office that was some time ago. And so this woman who bought books, she became a devotee too, and then she remembered.
Я, знаете, что спросила меня прежде всего?
She
Она
remembered.
хорошо одета, эта женщина.
She remembered that
Да, она хорошо одета.
when she was told that somebody came with some spiritual books to their office, the first question she asked was if that person who came is nicely dressed. And she let her in only when she got to know that she was really nicely dressed. So this devotee who distributed the books, she was very experienced. She wasn't rich enough, very rich, but she knew how to get dressed. She looked as a goddess. But when a person comes in some garbage, people won't even talk to such a person. So if you distribute Krishna consciousness, you should respect people, not only show off with your knowledge and your renunciation. You need to have that contact. Because if people see you in those garments, they will think that, no, that's not for me. He's too renunciated. He's too smart for us. No, we cannot follow him. We don't want to live like that. In such a way, we created that fear in society. Because all of us, with getting in contact with Krishna consciousness, we left immediately our jobs, left immediately our education. This is a real fact. We quit families, quit universities.
Во все институты первое, что они сделали, указание было никаких кришнитов, никакой религии. Вообще туда не пускать. Духу, чтобы
after such
иначе наши студенты не
actions, all the universities had that
можно понять. Сейчас мы их понимаем. Тогда мы думали,
had that law not to let Hare Krishna people into their buildings, into their...
Не пускай, все равно пройдет. Это все Кришна защищал нас, тем не менее, потому что мы на верном пути, тем не менее. Хотя мы были фанатики, еще не зрелые люди, но путь был верный, нас Гуру защищал, Кришна защищал.
It was obvious that Hare Krishna people, they don't let students receive their education. Devotees still knew how to get through all that, but that was Krishna's protection. Okay, if you are really renunciated, you can just walk around everywhere in a dhoti, but if you are not, you shouldn't do that. I walk in dhoti when I'm walking around the city. For example, I am living someplace. I'm getting into the train. I'm sitting in front of somebody in a compartment, and this person says, and he says to me, you look like you're a senior for these people.
А мне, говорит, можно. Он мне разрешил.
And he says, I need to complain to you. Why they walk in those table
Когда я
clothes?
мантру повторял еще до
And I
инициации,
say, have a look at me, I'm wearing the same tablecloth. And he says, well, it looks nice on you.
Спросить о какой-то станции, которые тоже мантру повторяли. Люди боялись. Это просто сознание.
Yes, I was walking around chanting mantra.
Что есть разница.
And
Я это еще делаю
long
на
ago,
телесном
I have
платформе,
understood
понимаете? Я еще не изменился
that
в
when
этом.
I
Поэтому
was
говорят, какой ты
chanting,
придурок.
when it depends on our
Он просто
consciousness.
придуряется.
If we are chanting, just trying to look as if we're chanting, that it will scare people. Their reaction will be negative. But if I do it, really do it, nobody will be negative about that.
Я бы кому-то вообще запретил в тхоти ходить, что он не умеет ходить в тхоти, это позорит только общество.
I would just forbid somebody to walk around in dhoti because he cannot do that. He doesn't know how to do that. I've seen some dhotis that just are not describable, dirty, in some spots, torn in some places. That's awful, and they call it Vaishnava clothes. I have seen all these things.
Брюки тоже разные бывают, если вы носите брюки.
Trousers can also be different if you wear trousers.
Сейчас брюки носят женщины, чтобы показать свой зад. Главное.
Now women wear trousers just to show their ass.
Привлекать задом.
It's their main goal, to attract with the ass. Then it's bad if you wear trousers with such a goal. If you wear trousers for another goal, it will be seen at once. But modern culture is to show something. Your breast or your hips. Yeah, Prabhupada said if the society reacts very strongly at Vedic garments, at Vedic outfit, you can wear Western costumes and suits. We should know that Prabhupada likes when we wear dhoti and saris, but when we do it in a beautiful way. Of course, for every Vaishnava holiday or program, we should wear dhoti and sari. When we go outdoors for preaching, we should be nicely dressed, beautifully dressed. Our time's up. Thank you very much.